40 minutes.
I'll leave until PhD class.
Okay. Can we start? Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K. Sitharama Rao, sir. Respected Chief Guest, Professor Ramesh K. Arora, sir. Distinguished Speaker, Professor G. Srinivas Reddy, sir. Distinguished Guest, Professor Sudha Rani, Madam. Director Academic, Dr. BRAOU. Professor Ghanta Chakrapani, sir. Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences. Beloved Registrar, Dr. A.V.N. Reddy, sir. Respected Adjunct Professor and former Registrar, Professor Venkatesh, sir. All the esteemed faculty members, senior professors, invitees, participants from the different parts of the country, a hearty welcome to one and all. As you all know, today recently we have celebrated 40 years of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, and currently we are celebrating 75 years of Indian independence. In this context, Department of Public Administration has been organizing several programs, symposia, webinars from time to time. In this context, Department of Public Administration has initiated several programs like Pratibha Webinar Series, Civil Services Orientation to the students of not only Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, but all the students of the country. And it has been successfully, we have completed 10 lectures. And in this context, we are also celebrating, we are organizing today National Symposium on Continuity and Change in the Indian administration during the last 75 years. I welcome you all to this National Symposium as we are having two intellectuals today to speak over this topic. And with these few words, I would request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to kindly preside over the program.
Thank you very much, Pallavi. Good morning, everybody. I joined Dr. Pallavi, Head Department of Public Administration of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, in welcoming you all once again on my personal behalf and also on behalf of the Faculty of Social Sciences and also University at large. Sir, Dr. Pallavi has explained briefly about the activities of the department and also Faculty of Social Sciences during the last 1 year in the context of Azadi Ka Amritotsav and also our 40 years of existence and service of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University to the higher education sector. We have conducted many programs. We have also conducted seminars in this regard, especially Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, nationalism and freedom struggle, and also other areas. We are also going to have one more seminar or symposium on Mahatma Gandhi and his views on science education and also Nayi Talim. On 5th, we are going to have it. Today, really, I am very happy. One of the great best teachers of India in public administration, Professor Ramesh K. Arora, and he kindly accepted our request and joined us to participate in this national symposium, and which is a most relevant topic to discuss in this context. That is continuity and change in Indian administration during the last 75 years. Sir, we are very happy today. Since a long time, you are associated with us continuously, especially with the Department of Public Administration. When I am recruited as a young teacher in Department of Public Administration in 1978, department has conducted a orientation program, special orientation program, keeping in view the changing of the syllabus at BRAOU. In that orientation program, we have invited Professor Ramesh Arora, and he came there, and the teachers of public administration have they were given the book of Professor Ramesh Arora, that is Comparative Public Administration, very popular book, even now also. Sir, really, I am very proud of you because you are engaged in spreading the most relevant knowledge related to public policy, administration, management, whatnot, various issues related to the Indian polity and governance. So really, I welcome you all once again to this symposium. And yes, so I am also very happy today. Professor G. Srinivas Reddy, he was my teacher, friend, and colleague. It's a long time in our Kakati University, we worked together. And he is also known for his honesty and humility and sincerity committed to the discipline of public administration. He is one of the person who engaged himself continuously in teaching. Even after his retirement, he is continuously engaged in the area of human resources management and also public administration. He has very good ideas of restructuring the syllabus at PG level to make the public administration as one of the most professional-oriented discipline than a academic-oriented discipline. Now, public administration need to be changed in that direction to survive itself. So these two speakers, one from South India and another from North India, and both of them are most senior teachers and those who are continuously engaged in the spreading of knowledge of public administration and public policy. So really, we are very happy. So that is the reason, keeping these two persons in view, these two great academicians in view, we thought of organizing this symposium on this topic in this context. So really, we are very thankful to you, sir. Once again, I thank our Director Academic, Professor Sudharani, having come here to participate in this program, encouraging us to take up many programs, and also our Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Chakrapani. Now and then I take discuss with him on issues like this, and he's the person who gives me relevant and good advice who taking up these new programs in our faculty. And so these two senior teachers in the university from social sciences are continuously helpful to me, and also especially Professor Venkataya Garu. Just now he joined us. He joined in the department once again as an adjunct professor, and he's also extending all his cooperation and support to take forward the various programs in the Department of Public Administration. With this brief introduction, now I request Pallavi to extend warm welcome with flower bouquets to our guests here. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
ఫ్యాకల్టీ మెంబర్ నువ్వు కూడా ఫ్యాకల్టీ హెడ్
Thank you very much. Sir, we are also welcoming you with flower bouquet from here, Professor Ramesh ji. So, one more thing, in this program, our IAPA regional branch, state branch is also participating, part of this program. Before going to the next item on the agenda, just I wanted to make few observations on the topic of today. So, as I already told you, this is the most relevant topic to be deliberated in this present context. So, as you know very well, all of us know also, we have borrowed we have adopted the British civil service system in our India, including pattern of democracy, parliamentary democracy also. So, this is different from European bureaucracy. This is civil service model that we have to keep in mind. But over a period of time, the last 7.5 decades, the representative character of civil service in India has varied and changed. From society, various sections of the people, because of reservations and other facilities, development of the upper middle class and middle class, and so many youngsters are contesting and competing and joining in the civil service. That made us to realize that the representative character of civil service has been changed. Earlier, it used to confine only to the upper echelons of the society. It is not now so. And the role played by the R&D services in our country, especially in the areas of nation building and socio-economic development, this is very enormous and worth mentioning to realize that the role played in the R&D, because the various officers coming from different states have joined in different cadres of the states, and they have played very active role. Especially R&D service officers of first and second generations are most important, and they have joined in, served in different states, and they played a very important role. And one more thing, the commitment of Indian bureaucracy, rather civil service, to the constitutional values in expanding the political democracy is also very important. So now we have to examine this issue very seriously. To what extent the new generations of civil servants are committed to the constitutional values in the expanding the political democracy and democratizing the society at large. Then lastly, one more point, local governments. This is one of the very important area. Now, the local bodies or local governments have its place in the constitution as a third tier of the constitutional government. So, in devolution of functions, finances, and functionaries, in these three areas, a civil service needs to play a very important role. Even now, I feel there is a gap in the devolution of real economic, financial, and administrative powers to the local bodies. In this also, we expect a proper, positive, and effective role of the civil service in widening the political democracy of our country through local government organizations. So with these brief observations, I expect today's speakers also reflect on these issues. I once again extend my thanks to both the great academicians who gave consent to join in this symposium. Now I request Professor Sudharani to give her message in this meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning to you all, and hearty welcome to the esteemed Professor Ramesh Arora and Sri Sridhar, who are the luminaries in public administration, and our Dean, Faculty of Sciences, Registrar, and Pallavi, the Seminar Symposium Director, and Venkataya Garu, the Adjunct Professor. I'm indeed very happy to be a part of this seminar because this symposium, continuity and change in Indian administration during last 75 years. So 75 years, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we are celebrating, and it is an opportunity to really look into the progress or the path we traversed in this 75 years of independent India, and what are the progress we have achieved and how far we traveled, taking along with the spirit of Constitution, and in our administration, in our economy, in polity, and all the matters. So recently we held a seminar on Ambedkar Democracy and Nationalism. So to relook into the mere concept of nation and nationhood and nationalism for the people who is meant, the Constitution is meant for the people. The preamble itself says, we the people of India. So the people who elects and who enacts and who are responsible for the government or the governance, how the governments are taking care of the people's needs and aspirations along with the administration. And this is a thing to relook, and I appreciate the efforts of Public Administration Department, and history came forward earlier, holding international and national event, and also webinar, and the public administration is coming now with a very apt topic in Indian administration, change and continuity. And I'm very happy, Arora sir, who is a luminary in the public administration, the Mauryas to Mountbatten. Your works, we have read it, sir. And the change and continuity, your book, one of the book also is very much in demand still now, because I'm also a student of public administration for my graduation. So we have read the books of the experts. And just to express my views, though Public Service Commission came into being in India pre-independent era, 1926, which redefined as a Federal Public Service Commission as a result of the 1935 Act. So the ICS, which was there pre-independent era, was replaced by Indian Administrative System, and All India Services Act through the Act of 1951. So Indian Parliament provided this IAS and IPS as an outcome of the deliberations of the Constituent Assembly debates, and huge discussions took place, several opinions were expressed, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of the drafting committee of Indian Constitution, and the Constituent Assembly debates also, the issue of the independent UPSC, Indian Public Service Commission, and the independent state commissions have come up. The Ambedkar was instrumental in bringing this to, and this Constitution put in the part 14th and enlisted the services under the Union and States Act of Article 312 of Constitution, which is related to All India Service Commission, All India Services. So later this IFS, Forest Services, Medical Services came in. So this is a history. So after independence, I think for a quite long period, for 2-3 decades, the political parties, they didn't interfere much into the affairs of the administration system because it's an independent functionary. However, the political domination, because even pre-independent era also, as a student of history, I just could recollect, during 1920 and 1946, Indian National Congress interference in the administration services was very minimal. So, however, after independence, as Sir was talking about, there are certain challenges. The mass transfers of the IAS and IPS officers, whenever the new political party assumes the power, is a big challenge to the functioning of the authorities. So this one thing I just could bring to the notice of the discussion. And also the continuity is like, though the structure continued the same, but several additional functions and more than 50 commissions and committees on Indian administrative system have took place in this 75 years of independence. And right from Indian Administrative Commission 1951 to the administrative commissions of the Yogendra Kumar Alag, Satish Chandra, and several other committees and acts, commissions, they reitered the services to the people, services to the citizens, and the social aspect of it, the services, because earlier it was only a regulation, but regulation gave place to the services and the welfare of the people. This has to be the crucial aspect of any Indian administrative services. So these decades, 7 decades of administrative changes can be seen through the reforms which we have, the reforms just now mentioned, that more than 50 committees and commissions. So in the light of this, I just want wish the National Symposium a grand success in deliberating upon the political interference and the challenges to the functioning of the administration, as well as the new orientation in the light of the gross violations of the rights of the citizens and the welfare of the people, which has to become in the central place. So in this light, a few observations of mine, I wish a symposium a grand success, and I wish more and more deliberations in this day will come up in the light of the change. What are the changes which have happened in the Indian administration system, and what is the positive ways which continue till today, and what are the challenges which we are facing today. So thank you for this opportunity given to me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Sudharani, for your message and wishes. Now I request our Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Chakrapani, to give his message in this context.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, all. Dr. K. Sitaram Rao Garu, Vice Chancellor and President of today's National Symposium on Continuity and Change in Indian Administration during the last 25 years. As Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, I welcome today's experts. Of course, they are great teachers of public administration for the last 40 years or so. Professor Ramesh K. Arora ji and Professor Srinivas Reddy Garu, whom I know for the last 3 decades as a teacher, 3.5 decades. And my colleagues, Director Academic, Professor Sudharani Garu, and our registrar, and of course is a public administration teacher, A.V.N. Reddy Garu, Professor Venkataya Garu, and other colleagues. I also welcome all the participants who joined us through Zoom platform. and they're eager to listen and participate in this symposium. So I don't want to take much time, by repeating, my previous speakers, as well as, interfering in the speeches of, the experts. But I'm curious to listen and participate along with you, because it is a very interesting and very rare landmark for any country. 75 years of self-rule is that itself is a great event. By taking this event, universities and University Public Administration Department is conducting this symposium. I congratulate the department for coming up with a wonderful title. It's a continuity and change in Indian administration. Of course, during the last 75 years. But here, you have invited a person who studied Indian administration for the last 1,000 years or so, from Mauryas to Mountbatten, and Mauryas, Mughals, and British, and their rule, and finally Mountbatten. Mountbatten is not an administrator, administrative reformer, but after that, Indian administration gone through a tremendous kind of changes in the light of 1935 Act of Indian Administration, and also Indian Constitution. In my view, Indian Constitution has redefined the whole administrative procedure and governing procedure in the country. And in a way, Indian Constitution modernized entire administrative procedure and practices. And also, it redefined the institutions and their responsibilities. The question is whether the administrators, whether the rulers of the last 75 years, from Nehru to Modi, whether they really, are reflecting and following the constitutional law, or whether they really, implementing the whole philosophy of Indian Constitution, and what kind of changes the administration has gone through during the last 75 years. That is also very, I think, important aspect. From Mughals to Modi, what happened in this 150 years? No, there are 300 years or 400 years. No, it is very important occasion. By arranging this kind of symposium, not only just conducting a symposium, but also inviting a person like Arora ji, Ramesh K. Arora, who is considered as Bhishmacharya of public administration in India. And also, we have an Arjuna of public administration like Srinivas Reddy. So we would like to, we are in fact, very eager to listen to them, the new Mahabharata of, Indian administration. I welcome all of you once again for this symposium. I wish this symposium will definitely give us a new knowledge and new vision and a new kind of perspective on Indian administration. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chakrapani, for your kind message and wishes. Now I request our registrar, Dr. A.V.N. Reddy, to speak a few words and also briefly introduce the speakers of today.
Thank you, sir. So good morning to all. Respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Sitaram sir, and today's chief guest, Ramesh K. Arora ji, and Professor Srinivas Reddy, who is now here as a distinguished speaker and a senior teacher of particular Andhra Pradesh as well, and Telangana. Director Academic, Professor Sudarani ma'am, our Dean, Professor Chakrapani garu, our Head Department of Public Administration, Dr. Pallavi, and the other colleagues who joined in Zoom. Hearty welcome to you. So it is a very important topic and nice to see by the two eminent professors in this platform. So as a student of public administration, you have to see a lot of changes from what sir said earlier, from Maurya's to Mountbatten. Not only that, so there are a lot of commissions and omissions have been submitted their reports, and some of the governments following or not following whatever it may be has seen. The first ARC and second ARC, the Morales Desai to primarily for the central level and state levels, various committees have been formulated and deliberated, submitted their reports. Some of them are implemented at local level, middle level, or higher level. So anyhow, sir, we are able to opportunity to listen your whatever experiences, particularly in the form of lectures. The most important, the teachers who are teaching to public administration at various levels, universities and degree colleges. And thank you for this giving this opportunity to introduce the great speakers. Professor Ramesh K. Arora, the big book is come, if I start the introduction of the Ramesh K. Arora in the year of since almost 60 years as student to the professor. So Professor Ramesh K. Arora did his MPA and PhD from the University of Kansas, Lawrence, USA, as a Fulbright scholar. He was also a senior Fulbright fellow at Syracuse University in New York. He was professor in the Department of Public Administration and Dean of Social Science in the University of Rajasthan, and distinguished visiting professor at HCM Rajasthan, State Institute of Rural Public Administration. Presently, he is chairman, Management Development Academy in Jaipur. So he published a lot of books, almost from student of public administration, and also the administrators who are working at various fields. So they are following by the Ramesh Arora books. So thank you, sir, for coming here. Very much curiosity about your latest developments in public administration, particularly Indian administration. So Professor G. Srinivas Reddy, another speaker here, is very, very senior and veteran in our area. So almost any doubt occurred to this teacher of public administration, student of public administration, immediately come into the mind of everyone. Professor Srinivas Reddy, better to clarify and rectify whatever the doubts of the students as well as the teachers. He's a very senior scholar in the Department of Public Administration. Sir completed his graduation, post-graduation degrees from Usman University and PhD from the Cox University. Starting his career at Usman University in 1972, studied at Cox University and ISEC Institute of Social and Economics in Bangalore, Concordia University, Canada, and KITS Warangal in various positions. He has 50 years of active and continuous teaching and research experience, over 150 publications in the form of books, 8 volumes, and articles in leading national and international social science journals. Currently, he is Dean of leading business school in Hyderabad, where he is editing a management journal and a couple of other periodicals. He is a passionate teacher, active researcher, and is variously engaged in civil society activities. He has held all administrative positions in the university hierarchy. He is looking forward to never-ending academic career, the strong belief that a teacher can never be retired. The sir is the right example to continuing his career from appointment to the after retirement also. Sir has not taken any retirement. He is not at all sitting a single day freely. Sir, he has been intimately associated with our Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University since its inception. He has unorthodox views and a wide canvas of academic interest. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here and for particular event, sir. We are eagerly waiting for listening to your lecture. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Avian, for your brief introduction of the speakers of today. Now we go into the actual symposium. For the first, I request our Professor G. Srinivas Reddy to speak on this topic. The time is between 25 to 30 minutes. Okay. Then chief guest will speak lastly. So now I request Professor G. Srinivas Reddy to speak on this issue.
Esteemed Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University and president of this national symposium, very revered and esteemed chief guest of this symposium, Sir Ramesh K. Arora ji, Professor Kanta Chakrapani, Dean Faculty of Social Sciences and former chairman of Telangana Public Service Commission, Dr. A.V.N. Reddy, the registrar of this university, Dr. Pallavi Kabde, Seminar Director, HOD, Department of Public Administration, Sir Venkataya, the former registrar of this university and senior faculty member, Professor Venkateshwarlu, and friends. I'm indeed very happy to be almost homecoming because I'm associated with this university right from scratch. Even perhaps from the time the idea was conceived by late Professor G. Ram Reddy, who happened to be our teacher. And incidentally, there are twin occasions the president had just now mentioned. One is 75 years of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and 40 years of Dr. Ambedkar Open University. I'm incidentally celebrating my 50 years of teaching career. And perhaps it is just a day's difference that I have started my teaching way back in 1972. In this lecture, I think my task is also simplified because the distinguished Vice Chancellor, who is himself a senior teacher of public administration, Professor Sudha Rani, and our Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, have given many important aspects of public administration. In this lecture, I would focus on a few things like this. First, the continuities and changes in Indian administration, taking India's independence as a point of departure before and after. And this will be done in multiple dimensions, structural or institutional, functional, behavioral, process, and ecological. A tall order, and time being constrained, I think I shall be rushing through my presentation. And it also tries to offer certain explanations for these continuities or changes, how good or how bad they are, how useful they are, and what are the implications of these things. Next, I'll also try to identify some of the achievements of Indian administration and the challenges that still remain in Indian administration. And we'll finally hint at a few directions in which Indian administration needs to be reformed. There have been indeed many continuities in the system of Indian administration, even after 1947. And we have to seek reasons why these continuities are there. One important reason was that there was although there was a protracted struggle for freedom, when independence came, it was almost that, very big change has come, massive change has come suddenly. And there was a peaceful transfer. I think this point needs to be noted. When there is a violent, transfer of power, there is bound to be a lot of changes and all that. There has been peaceful change, and recently there was a BBC clipping, the first interview with the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. The reporter was asking the question, how come, you're not at all annoyed with British rule and all that? How can you afford to be so very friendly with the British government and talk so uncomplainingly about the British government? That's what the compliment was made, and Nehru gave his own explanation. Anyway, this has been the reason. And secondly, we could not change lock, stock, and barrel because the conditions under which India got its independence were very big turmoil was there. The massive, the greatest ever, migration and transmigration of people, cross-migration of people from the different parts of the erstwhile British India. This was a tragedy of big proportions, and there were many problems on the socio-economic front, like food shortages, ill health, illiteracy, and shortages of all kinds, and the task of integrating a huge complex country into one unified nation. So this was also the reason why not many changes could be immediately introduced. And thirdly, the administration of India got depleted because of partition. Many Muslim officers opted to go to Pakistan, and the European officers, the British and other European officers, wanted to go away from India. So therefore, there was a huge depletion in the ranks of higher civil services, and therefore, they could not think of changes which require a lot of preparation and all that. Next, the country did not have either the material or human resources to install a new administrative machinery and change everything all over. And the British Indian administration was considered to be steel frame, which kept India in a very integrated manner. And therefore, it showed its result. And hence, there wasn't much urge for change in administration. So willy-nilly then, existing administrative machinery had to be continued after independence. This is the reason why we have continuities. And coming to what are the aspects continued. So one was the modern civil service. Originally, it was entitled Covenanted Civil Service, which is called the Steel Frame of India, was established by the British East India. And this continued. And they introduced the principle of merit. I think India was one of the first countries, even before some of the European countries, which had a merit-based bureaucracy, a very efficient merit-based civil service. Setting up a college at Fort St. William's at Calcutta for training civil servants was also done. And impartial selection of civil services, establishment of Public Service Commission, all these were one set of things that still continue. The Premier All India Services in a modified form, ICS in the form of IAS and IP in the form of IPS, were continued. And Sardar Patel was the big champion who bulldozed almost single-handedly the entire Constituent Assembly, which was keen to scrap the IAS, ICS IP system. And Patel was very visionary in this sense, and he was preoccupied with the integration of India, and he saved the day for IAS officers. And ever since, now I have a feeling that this country doesn't require IAS at this moment. The historical job is well done by them. Now, the basic thrust of administration is on development and welfare. In this context, I think they do not have that much of place. And federalism has been another important feature. Along with multi-layered government, we had 3 layers of government. Of course, the local government, perhaps during British times, did not deserve the title government. It was local administration, though. So there was a multi-layered administration, and district was made the basic unit of administration. Of course, it's a historical continuum of the Mughal rule, but district became all too very important, and establishment of the office of the district collector by Warren Hastings, with massive powers, magisterial, judicial, and revenue powers combined into one person, was another important thing, which largely continued after independence. Of course, some amendments were done. The system of secretariat, directorate, and the policy administration dichotomy also started during the British regime. And there were rudiments of parliamentary system, which were started during this time, and seats for reservations were also laid during the British regime. It's not that the reservation system came into being only after independence. It was there. Many princely states, introduced non-Brahmin reservations. The British government also thought of communal roster, about which a lot of controversy came and all that. So the seats of reservation were also laid during the British rule. And another important thing was, there was the seeds of communalism were also sown by the British administration. I think this one negative feature of the British legacy, by dividing Bengal and Punjab on community lines, communal lines. And this set the tone for a lot of unseemly, communal rancors that has been there in the country ever since. One more major contribution of the British has been the creation of the middle class, consequent upon Macaulay's celebrated minute of 1835, leading to introduction of English as a medium of communication. But of course, as Karl Marx said, the British rule in India had a double mission, one constructive, one destructive. The very same English, introduction of English created a middle class. In fact, a middle class has been the vanguard of India's independence movement, not one. The English education also resulted in the establishment of the Indian National Congress, founding of Indian National Congress. English as a medium of instruction ended up, many big freedom fighters going to England and pursuing their higher education. And they were exposed to the liberal ideas like equality, freedom, fraternity, democracy. Some of these ideas also came to our Independence Day leaders. And even this has also helped many of our people, say our children and grandchildren, perhaps they're all over the English-speaking countries, having lots of opportunities. Secular education was also introduced by the British. Secular education has two connotations. One is an education which is not confined to religion or not following the dictates of religion, one meaning. Another meaning of secular education is education relevant for life in this world, not for life after death. In this sense, it was a contribution of the British. They introduced rule of law. In the sense, the rule is by the law, not by the ruler, which was in the past the case when the native princes were there, and even in the historical past. And equality before law and equal protection of laws is important. This is a very important thing, a very essence of a democratic administration. And these seeds were also laid by them. And the legal system of India, whether it is independent integrated judiciary or the Indian Penal Code or the Criminal Procedure Code, were all, they came up during the British period. IPC and CRPC are so very powerful. Recently, I was listening to a lecture by one political scientist who was mentioning that, Pakistan and Nepal went the theocratic way. They wanted to create a theocratic administration, Hindu, jurisprudence here and Islamic there. And the speaker was telling that Pakistan could not make any progress. They could not. Ultimately, they had to follow Civil Procedure Code, Indian Criminal Procedure Code, almost on the same lines. So this is the power, and even the independent government of India. I think coming to Modi ji, I think he has been changing so many things. Maybe he has his own reason for that. But this is one area which has, even coming into the legal domain, the government has recently scrapped, is intending to scrap all the labor laws, some 40 labor laws, and it has made legislation for 4 codes, labor codes. Of course, they have not yet come into implementation, but these two things are, CRPC and IPC, are still there. It also witnessed the beginning of elementary social services like primary education, health, medical care, agricultural research, financial incentives for industrialization. Legislative activity also commenced during this time. And one more important thing was the two world wars led to introduction of price and physical controls over the essential supplies. So this paved the way for a regulated economy. Food, clothing, petrol, kerosene, public distribution system was introduced by the British, and these things have continued. In fact, they are elaborated and much more strongly. They have been expanded. The growth in armed services, particularly the standing army, the war industries laid the armament factories, laid the seeds for the massive, creation of a huge number of public sector units after independence. There was, during the partial legislative control, public services were made accountable to, even during the British rule, partially accountable to the popularly elected leaders. So these were certain things. And one more thing is the hierarchy. I think that is so much there in Indian administration, one of the villains of peace of Indian administration. And the insistence on written record and communication have continued. Red tapeism is, of course, there. Various manuals prepared during the British colonial rule are still used in most of the departments of the government, particularly the regulatory departments. The chief secretary's position at the provincial level continues. An independent integrated judiciary was established during the British rule. Now, these were all the major changes. Several momentous changes have been introduced after independence because of the change in political background, psychological atmosphere. As somebody put it, the revolution of rising expectations in India, looking forward for the government to do, so many things for the people. So under these circumstances, lots of changes had to come in. The administration, both at the central and state levels, has become more massive, expansive, and more complex, and extremely challenging. New forms of organization have come in. Free India, having got a democratic constitution mandating free and periodic elections to parliament and state legislatures, resulted in adoption of several laws, legislative controls over the executive. The constitution also circumscribed, of course, it has given certain autonomy to All India services. It has protected the All India services, but also circumscribed the powers of the bureaucracy. The constitution has also enshrined the ideals of welfare state and socialist state, although these words were, later, these things were later added, but the constitution, right from the beginning, had the welfare and socialist, proclivities in it. The local government, which was in the form of local administration, became local government, and the introduction of Panchayat Raj, the community development and all that have been very revolutionary, though not in delivering the intended results, but taking administration to the doorsteps of the people, and which was initially the Panchayat Raj was not that very strong, but subsequent to the 73rd and 74th amendments, both the rural and urban governments were strengthened by making local administration, local government as a third tier of administration, drawing powers from the same constitution from which the state and central governments are drawing. So one thing I forgot, the British introduced separate local government structures for rural and urban areas. This is one important legacy which is still continuing. The public service commissions have been given constitutional status to ensure selection of the meritorious people uninfluenced by political considerations. And the public services are also made accountable to the politicians. Of course, we have two patterns of this, the American and the British. We have copied the British pattern again. It's from there. Whereas the civil servants in America are directly accountable to their Congress. They can be called before Congress or congressional committees. In India, they're sheltered. And the ministers are, I think this is a thing perhaps one need to debate. Do we really need to insulate the civil servants? Because there is a lot of bureaucratic corruption also. And perhaps it's a debatable point, but they continue to get, insulation. The minister is responsible for this. The constitution has strengthened the parliamentary democracy, which was initiated in the British times. But one important change was the British times, there were elections, though it was a limited franchise. Mass democracy in the sense of universal adult franchise, every voter getting right to vote has happened. It was a bold experiment. In fact, at the time of independence, many Western observers wrote off that India can hardly survive the first few years because of so many challenges and all that, but defying all the doomsday predictions, India survived, and it is growing from strength to strength. There was Indianization of civil services, Britishers have gone, but I make a distinction. There is a difference between Indianization and indigenization. I won't, perhaps this challenge still awaits. We have Indianized, administration, civil services, but we have not indigenized the civil services. I think we have had a great historical past, the Mauryan administration, the Mughal administration, very strong empires, massive empires were there at a time when the West did not have such massive empires. And obviously we have had great, administrative practices, but those things have to be, brought into the mainstream of civil services and its operations. We have added some new All India services. And another important thing that has happened is a big grievance redressal architecture has been created post-independence. With the establishment of Lokpal, Lokayukta, Right to Information Act, passage of Right to Information Act, Citizen Charter, public interest litigation, even 0 hour is an invention of Indian legislature. But sadly, I think when it comes to their working, there has been some improvement, but all that, for instance, Lokpal, it's not functional still, and we don't get, it should, in the context of massive corruption going on and a lot of public grievances being there, we hardly hear of Lokpal these days. This is something that remains. Another important development has been the creation of the post of Chief Secretary and the creation of PMO. I think this PMO has turned the cabinet government into prime ministerial government. And this happened right from Nehru's time, and it is going unabated. Only when, the prime ministers were not considered to be very political heavyweights. There was, there was a little cabinet kind of working, but it has been so much of concentration and all that. This is one more post-independence creation. Another post-independence development is the growth of independent regulatory agencies like TRAI and SEBI in shares and stock exchanges as a sequel to LPG. And this is LPG, the 1991, the new economic policy is also a major, departure in public administration in India. It has changed the nature of public administration, orientation of public administration very massively, very significantly. There has been a progressive expansion of the ambit of reservations for a long time, and followed from 1991 by, kind of reversal and almost a stagnation now. The reservation enterprise, which is called protective discrimination policy, is a very, very important, instrument of creating an inclusive society, developing an inclusive society in India. And now, even before the inequalities, the social, economic, all kinds of inequalities even before we have undone those things, stopping reservations, almost freezing inequalities. So the Constitution somewhere says welfare state, somewhere it says socialism and all that. And those words are still there. And the constitutional mandate is that, checked against that. I think this is a very, sad thing. Now, there has been, public-private partnership on a very big way. The bureaucracy is receding into the background, and this is coming up, particularly in the roads sector. This has come up in a very
infrastructure.
Yeah. Even public sector undertakings. There were very few public sector undertakings before independence. Large number of public undertakings were created. In fact, it has modernized India. It has laid the basis for industrialization of India. And at the time, if these public sector units were not established, I think India would not have had such a healthy industrial infrastructure. So this was another important thing. But PSUs are also now on the way out. Recently, the Prime Minister is on record saying that except SBI, all the banks, public sector banks will be scrapped. And there are serious plans to, privatize and all that. And they have huge properties, huge assets and all that, national properties. I think, it's a debatable point whether this is a right move or wrong move, but this is what is happening. The centralized planning was, established after independence, but this has given way of late. In the last 1 decade, this has been replaced by Niti Aayog, which is, perhaps even Congress it's not the BJP initiative alone. It was there. This idea was tried by the Congress government, and it has come. Perhaps it is in sync with the 1991 new economic policy, which wants a deregulated economy. And the government has also started, very prestigious institutes like IITs, IIMs, AIMS, CSR chain of institutions, ICSR chain of institutions, and all that, for laying a firm scientific and technological basis for the country. And one more important change has been the linguistic reorganization of the states. And this reorganization has led to certain consequences. I think the regional parties that are there and the movement, the sub-regional movements, statehood movements have gained, a lot of strength from this. There was a nationalization initially after independence of lots of industries, key industries and all that. And public sector was taken to commanding heights. But later there was denationalization and all that. And the PPP model, as I have just now mentioned, is now ruling. There has been increase in the welfare and developmental functions and huge increase in the number of departments under this category. Labor laws have been, are under the way to change from labor laws to labor codes. Code is not very compulsory. So what is happening is from a regulatory architecture, we are going to kind of a liberal architecture where the government will not be so much, jettisoning the economy or the industry and all that. The country has changed from cabinet government. Initially, I think Nehru's government was a truly national government, and it had stalwarts of different opinion. He had people who were not meeting eye to eye about ideology were there in the kind of thing. That was the only time, perhaps. And even soon enough, Nehru became, although Nehru was a Democrat and he was steeped in the tradition of democracy, he had fascination, intellectual fascination for democracy, but maybe his personality or whatever. So towards the end of his life, he ended up as Prime Minister, calling all the shots in government. So this has happened, and that's continuing. One more important change has been the technology intervention, the digitalization, the 24/7 services, e-governance and all that. This has been a very big thing. And the political environment, I think I have a feeling that in India, we are slowly heading towards this two-party government. I think many people in India wish that the liberal democracy of US and UK is very successful because of the two-party system. And people wonder, people wish that India also should have. In fact, these are birth pangs, I guess. Slowly, two-party system will emerge. That's my profound belief. That will be towards the welfare of this country. And when Indira Gandhi was too dictatorial, all the political parties, left to right, all across the ideological spectrum, perhaps even the far left to far right, all of them came together and all that. Something like that is again building up. There is too much of a swing towards, Indian political culture, perhaps to me, appears to be a centrist culture. And now there is too much of swing towards right. And now efforts are going on to jettison some kind of effective opposition to counter too much of right, swerve of the political system. So this is one more change in the offing. Well, these are a few things that I thought are the changes that have come into Indian administration. And Indian administration has indeed achieved many things. I think primarily India is the only major third world country, which is a singular example of a third world country surviving as a democracy, despite so many challenges for 75 years. This is the biggest achievement. And there has been tremendous strides in national integration. Now the current central government of India is trying to, integrate, Jammu and Kashmir also into the mainstream. If that can be done, without, alienating the people of the state, it will be wonderful. I think let the Prime Minister get a fair chance, and if he can convincingly do this is wonderful. But so many challenges we have met, and we have proved to the world that secularism is the right policy. Pakistan, which got separated from us on the basis of religion, could not stay united. It got balkanized, and there is no guarantee that it would stay the same in times to come. We have achieved a number of things on socio-economic fronts, the more than doubling of life expectancy, health facilities, increase in literacy, and living standards, scientific achievements. I think nuclear power or space research. There are many things that have happened, but there are also many problems that remain. One of the important problems is the corruption, the massive corruption of unimagined proportions is going on, and people are making allegations that people are making thousands and thousands of crores, people in seats of power. One should wish that they are not true, but if they are true, it's very catastrophic. And India is identified as one of the most corrupt countries. It has 80th place in Corruption Perception Index in 2020. There is a judicial independence is also is now questions are being raised against the independence of judiciary. There are lots of comments about the functioning of chief justices and justices. Perhaps I'm not saying that they're all verified truths, but this kind of accusation was not coming to the fore before, but this is happening. And there is a shortage of judges and all that. And there is big docket explosion. Many cases are piling up, and only emergency cases the judiciary is in a position to take. So that is the tragic situation. The elected representatives, both at all levels, there are many of them have criminal charges, and they are continuing. Of course, one more thing is that there are websites created. I think there is much to be done. I think more and more people are using the electronic mode, but the government is not doing sufficient to create the the digital literacy with people, to provide facilities and all that. Oftentimes, the websites are crashing and people are not able to even income tax. Every time we experience that, they are crashing and all that problems are there. Government needs to come in. There is a need to make a reform bureaucracy. Finally, coming to the conclusion, this short review of the administrative history of India of maybe 250 years or 300 years, we find that there has been a transformation from East India Company, unaccountable business company ruling a massive country like India, to a slightly accountable to the British Parliament, the direct rule of the British, and after that, independence. It is said that coming to the continuities in Indian administration, P.R. Dubashi says that after 50 years of change, the core of Indian administrative machine still remains intact. So he says that 25 years back he said, but the same thing is valid now. Now, why these continuities can be theoretically explained by two things. One theorization is the British people themselves used to say that it's a divine mission. Divine mission is that the God has chosen the white people to civilize the non-whites. And so they have civilized, they say that we have done this, that, and all that. And in fact, without 100% agreeing with this, I can say that, in fact, there are countries, you can find a difference in the civic, orientation of the countries which were ruled by the British, which were not ruled by British. In one gathering where some foreigners were there, they were telling that we feel sad that we were not ruled by some European nations. That was the civilizing mission. The second thing is the British rule, as Marx said, it had a double mission, constructive, destructive. The British rule, after all, had done something for India. The independence did introduce many changes, but one, just to give a global comment, that Indian administration has transformed from feudal mold to colonial mold during the East India Company British rule, and from colonial to semi-colonial and perhaps semi-feudal, contestable observation though. So this is what I feel. This has been the transformation. In conclusion, I can say that the quote, Joan Robinson, who she famously said some decades back, what is frustrating about India is that whatever you can rightly say of India, the opposite is also true. So if we say that this achievement is there, that achievement is there, there are so many things to see. Now, major things that await the government's attention is how to make Indian society more inclusive, how to integrate the various shades of opinion, various sections, and nowadays only inclusivity leads to sustainability. We talk a lot about sustainability. In India, I think you have cases. You go to Canada, there is a problem of French minority. For more than 100 years, the problem is still there. They could not solve. So strong arm methods will never win. Now, some people say that the current orientation of the government of India is that you have to be a little tough to bring everybody around and all that. But this has not worked out anywhere in history. I think there will be sooner or later the problem will come. So therefore, the government has to think of integrating minorities into the mainstream. Finally, and we have to build up compassionate and inclusive policies. This is, in one word, I say, Indian administration's mandate will be. This is in the context of a lot of chasms coming. There is a big gulf between central government and state governments. Look at the resources of central government, they're skyrocketing. The resources of the state governments are going back. Local government is much more. The Goa, one of the states in India, the per capita income of Goa is 8 times that of one of the backward states in India. So between states, between communities, between genders, there is a lot of things that evade the attention of the government. I should thank the esteemed Vice Chancellor and friends, good friends here, for giving me this opportunity to prepare on this. I promise to finish this and shape into a paper subsequently. These are some of the thoughts, and I should thank all of you for this opportunity. Thank you very much. And I'm comfortable because very big veteran is there to, correct all the, rough edges in our, articulation of the, continuities and changes in Indian administration. So, namaskar, sir.
Sir, thank you very much, sir, for providing a very elaborate and comprehensive framework to understand the continuity and change in Indian administration, and also to understand the achievements and failures of the Indian administration. So, by and large, we have covered so many aspects in our talk, and finally suggested still we need to democratize more the Indian civil service system according to the needs and requirements of our society, which is changing very fast due to various reasons. Emergence of maybe middle class, expansion of technology, technological initiatives, and globalization and all that. Still, we need to develop very democratic, inclusive, and compassionate policies to sustain our both political and administrative system in the future, to sustain ourselves as a nation and continue and develop a lot in the world socio-economic and political system. Thank you very much, sir. Now we are eagerly waiting to listen our veteran and great teacher of public administration, Professor Ramesh K. I request him to share his opinions and ideas with us on the topic of change and continuity in Indian administration. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation. Thanks, sir. I request you to speak on this.
Thank you very much, Dr. K. Sitaram Rao, Vice Chancellor, Professor Srinivas Reddy, distinguished speaker, Professor E. Sudharani, who has left, of course, but she was there, Dr. Chakrapani, Dr. Pallavi, and Dr. Reddy, Registrar, Professor Venkateshwarlu, and Dr. Venkatesh, everybody, and all the dear teachers and students. I'm very happy to be here. In fact, it's a great honor for me to have been invited by you. And most of the ideas which were relevant have been articulated by Professor Reddy. So I'll only be supplementing some of the ideas in a most telegraphic language. I don't want to really give any details because 75 years of administration cannot be discussed in 75 minutes. So let us look at the major developments or continuities from the angle of a brevity is the soul of it. And this is extremely significant. I'm also happy that your university has celebrated recently 40 years of its existence. And that's a great achievement because it has got a name in the academic world. I'm also very happy that you have selected a subject, public administration in India, administrative system in India, but not good governance or governance, because most of the lectures these days have been on governance. And I'm really puzzled. Why should we really think in terms of governance so much? Because this is a concept which was developed by the World Bank. I think applicable to democracy is agreed, but administration becomes a very small part of governance. Governance is legislature, executive, political parties, pressure groups, people's groups, and of course, administrative executives. So I really congratulate you. The first stage of this analysis that we are having today could be termed adoption and adaptation, the phase of adoption and adaptation. Parliamentary democracy continues to be our strong point, but basic point that Dr. Reddy said, that administrative system in India is able to work in a most dexterous manner in a democratic context. It has not gone beyond constitution. It has not violated constitution. It has respected the politicians, the ministers, the people's representatives, the people themselves. Second point is a cabinet form of government, which is there. And this is also an adoption and adaptation. CAG of India, same thing. Fourth, UPSC. Fifth, IPC. Sixth, CRPC. Seventh, Indian Police Act. Eighth, Indian Evidence Act. In all India services, IAS, IPS, and of course we added IFS. District collector's position is extremely important. Rule of law, secretariat-directorate relationships, these have been discussed. I'm first talking about things that have been really borrowed from our past and which have continued with adaptation, of course. Board of Revenue, state government, state services, central secretariat, departmental pattern, civil service neutrality, anonymity, annual budget, judicial administration, recruitment system, promotion, transfer, and discipline activities, discipline, action on discipline, and the municipal corporation system. So these various features of Indian administration have been adopted and adapted from the past. The second phase is institutional development, that we have created certain institutions after independence. These various institutions that I mentioned, they have been a legacy of the past, that is before independence. Now, let us look at the institutional development after independence, the second phase. Election Commission was created one day before the Constitution came into being. Planning Commission in 1950. Niti Aayog is the successor. Cabinet Secretariat in 1947. PM Secretariat in 1947. After a fortnight, various departments were created and ministries were created. After a fortnight of the independence. IS Training School, New Delhi. Prevention of Corruption Act. Damodar Valley Corporation, a public enterprise in 1948. National Development Council in 1952. Indian Institute of Public Administration 1954, O&M 1955. So the ecology of Indian administration has influenced its growth after independence. We cannot really break away from the past, that is our culture and the ancient India, Ashoka the Great, the greatest ruler of the world ever. You know, there's a book by H.G. Wells, Short History of the World, and Outline of World History. He says, if you make a list of all the great rulers of the world, the presidents, prime ministers, sheikhs, nawabs, other heads of states, of all the countries, of all the time, the greatest ruler in this world was Ashoka the Great. This is given, his opinion is given by a Britisher, and that is extremely important. Kautilya's Arthashastra. I have a hunch that Max Weber read Kautilya's Arthashastra because I find that most of the principles given by Kautilya are found in the ideal type model of bureaucracy by Max Weber. The Mughal rules, some of these continue, particularly the revenue administration, and the overall impact of a long monarchical rule and colonial rule has been that bureaucracy is largely inaccessible. There is corruption. There was great corruption during the British rule, during the Mughal rule, and there is arrogance of power, unfortunately. Third phase is innovations. Innovations, Panchayati Raj, 1959, and of course, 1992. CBI, 1963, CBC, 1964, Department of Administrative Reforms, 1964, First Administrative Reforms Commission, 1966 to 70, Second ARC, 2005-2009, RTI, 2005, Lokpal, 2013, then 2019, actual working. Regulatory bodies have been created quite a great deal, PPP, reservation method, digitalization. But I want to tell you there have been more than 800 committees and commissions on administrative reforms in India. More than 800, state level, central level. But unfortunately, what Rick says, there is formalism. That is, reforms are announced, they are adopted, intentions are clear, but they're not implemented properly. That is why if you look at the recommendations made by ARC, second ARC, on ethics in governance, which Virappa Moily said that is the best report of his, and he helped in drafting that even. And it was brushed aside and dealt with by the cabinet in a few minutes. Nothing has been done. Not a single important recommendation of ethics in governance of ARC has been implemented. Okay, these are third stages. The fourth stage is important, that is radical reforms. And the most significant reform is LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. It reduced governmental's regulatory work. Then disinvestment came into being as an important focal point of minimum government, that is trying to bring down the overall size of the government, ease of doing business, competition, foreign direct investment, new public management, minimum government, maximum governance. Then rule flexibility, private sector being given important place in the whole economy, and even the advisors of private sector, that is those who are important entrepreneurs, they have a role in making government policies. This is all the result of LPG. So we have a very radical reform which has really changed the whole shape of Indian administration. There have been radical changes recently in the foreign policy of India and defense policy of India. The second important radical change has been the 73rd, 74th Amendment, 5-year elections, Finance Commission, women reservation, and of course, people's involvement. The third has been the RTI. 2002 was the Freedom of Information Act, and 2005 was Right to Information Act. But unfortunately, the spirit with which it was created, the whole mechanism was created, perhaps has not been honored by those who have used it. It was in 1966, October, that the first report of the first Administrative Reforms Commission was, presented to the Parliament by Morarji Desai. It was a report on the redress of citizens' grievances, where two institutions were to be created, Lokpal and Lokayukt. But look, 1966 to 2013, the Act came into being in India. In 2013, it got implemented in 2019, especially because Supreme Court really pressurized us. And the fifth significant change has been the digital governance, e-governance, Aadhaar, Jan Dhan, e-office. E-office is very important. I'll talk about it. The GST, income tax, all tremendous amount of technology, as Dr. Reddy has said. I think that has really made a great difference. Let us look at the main points of the philosophy of administrative reforms in India since independence. It has followed a classical approach, that is emphasis on structure, principles, formal organization. It's number 2, stress on efficiency. Economy, number 3. Coordination, number 4. Specialization, number 5. Division of powers, number 6. Stress on integrity, number 7. And basically, responsiveness, decentralization, democratization. These are the basic philosophical premises of administrative reforms in India since independence. One of the recent changes is great stress on good governance and trying to look at the progress made by various states in this regard. The Good Governance Index of 2021, 2nd December, it was 25 December, it is on Atal Bihari Vajpayee's birthday. There were 10 sectors and 58 indices. 20 states had improved their score and parameters vis-a-vis 2019. And Gujarat topped the list, making in the overall 58 indices, Gujarat was number 1. And in citizen-centric government, North Indian states are better. Haryana, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Delhi have also done better. Then there is another index, Public Affairs Index 2021 for states. Narega, Kerala topped. Midday meal, Goa topped. Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, implementation, Chhattisgarh topped. National Health Mission, Kerala topped. ICDS, Odisha topped. And COVID-19 response also, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Kerala topped. A very important transformation is likely to be implemented. Decision has already been made, started on 1st September 2020, is the Karam Yogi Yojana. In this Karam Yogi Yojana, this is going to be tremendous. There's going to be a tremendous boost to capacity building of the government officers, government personnel, mainly central government, but we hope that the states will also follow that. It is called Karam Yogi Yojana. It is upgrading the training system, the specialized training by experts. No need of going abroad. You can have virtual training. Maybe foreign experts will be here, of course. We move from rule orientation to role orientation. And for the 5-year period, from 2020 to 2025, 51,086 crore rupees have been specially earmarked for implementing the Karam Yogi Yojana. Tremendous amount of focus on competence building, responsibility as a major factor in the behavior of the various administrators. They have to feel responsible towards their job, to their work, to the organization, to the country, society, rules, regulations, and rule of law. They want, through this system, application of modern technology and digital platforms, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analysis, e-learning, and offices will be evaluated on the basis of the various courses taken by them in consonance with the various principles of Karma Yogi. So this is a coordination unit headed by the Cabinet Secretary. Capacity Building Commission has also been created, and annual capacity building plans will be made for all departments and various states too. A new development has been a National Recruitment Agency created in August 2021. It's an autonomous, self-reliant body to conduct common eligibility tests for Group B, Group C. Group C posts, non-gazetted. So no interview, only exams. June 2016, self-certification was started, and placement of some senior officers as joint secretary through lateral entry. 7 joint secretaries were appointed. There were 10 posts, of course. A very significant change which has come about recently is the transformation of aspirational districts. It was done in January 2018. Though this is a Niti Aayog project, those districts which were less developed have been given tremendous amount of importance today, and for resources, development, attention. So there are 112 aspirational districts covering almost all states and even union territories. Would you believe it that the recent studies of 2022 say that some of these aspirational districts have done better than the state average of which they are a part, average of states of which they are a part. This is remarkable. We are not talking about it, but this is a most transformative change recently made. There is Central Secretariat Manual Office procedure, digital secretariat. The Central Secretariat, which was created by the British government, is one of the most well-developed organizations in the world. And now it is on digital mode. It is called e-office, and remarkable change. And Good Governance Index, I've told you, and National E-Governance Service, delivery assessment. It has been started, and many states have also used it. But even then, the progress is not very satisfactory so far, but it will be certainly taken care of in the near future. PM Awards for Excellence and Innovation in Government Functioning, and new initiatives taken by the civil servants. That is something remarkable. Mr. Modi has changed it. It was Mr. Manmohan Singh who had started this scheme, but there has been drastic change as far as innovations are concerned, for which they are given recognition. Then there is a very important point, centralized public grievance redressal and monitoring system. And this is being done by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Pensions of the Government of India. Mr. Srinivas, as you know, he's an Osmania graduate. He's a secretary for that. And so there is a tremendous amount of emphasis on feedback cells being created in all departments to know as to what people feel. May I mention that in 1968, when the new public administration was instituted as an important branch of learning, a very significant component of that was phenomenology. Phenomenology means the study of perception of the people. How they are receiving the various benefits being given by the government? Are they happy? Do they feel their life is being changed because of these benefits? Do they respond? Do they give feedback? And that is now being considered by the government of India to try to get feedback from the common man. We talk a lot about citizen-centric administration. It is not at all there. It's only citizen-oriented administration. Citizen centricity has still not been made an important cardinal principle of actual administration. So this is something which should be really tried. COVID-19, of course, has given a new shape to administrative system in a way. They have emphasized upon the governments of various state governments on proactive administrators, and political leadership has to take the lead. Cooperative federalism has come into being, and mission mode has become the main strategy for administrative functioning. Well, these are the various important structural, processual changes or continuities which affect, reflect, and effect Indian administrative system. What have been the positive and negative aspects of Indian administrative system will be an interesting case to study. Pluses. I'll talk about pluses and then minuses. It has been given tremendous amount of stability to the governance system, government system. As Mr. Reddy said, we are one of those very rare countries where democracy has survived and flourished. And there has been no threat except by Mrs. Indira Gandhi during emergency of 19 months. But there has been no such repetition, and there cannot be now. Secondly, internal security has been strengthened a great deal. And you have all the central police forces, state police forces, RAW, CBI, ED, and CRPF, Indo-Tibetan Police Force, BSF. Remarkable work done by them. Thirdly, the development process in India has been continuing. It has never stopped. Maybe there were certain annual plans during the planning phase, but overall, there has been no laxity, no laziness, no indolence in the overall development process of the country. A very important part I would like to mention is that Indian administration has promoted civil servants, balanced polity, what Rick say, that there is balance between politicians and administrators. Politicians, their power, the power of the bureaucrats and power of the politicians. There has been a balance. Agreed, political interference is there. But Indian ministers also have been very wise and rational in most of the cases. And they have taken the help of their bureaucrats as advisors also. And that has been a very good system in India. There is crisis management, excellent crisis management, disaster management. In all the crises that we have faced, I think there has been a wonderful, rational response, except one case, I'll talk about it. Election system, one of the best in the world. Census, one of the best in the world. And therefore, these are a few of the positive implications of the administrative system in India since independence. There have been islands of excellence. UPSC, no complaints so far except one. Election Commission, its objectivity has not been questioned, although people talk about it in political manner. CAG of India, we have been responsible for auditing the accounts of United Nations and many other countries. Our CAGs and his deputies go abroad. ISRO, one of the finest organizations you can think of. Abdul Kalam, Satish Dhawan, Vikram Sarabhai, DRDO, Dr. D.S. Kothari, excellent work, and new innovations have been marvelous. AIMS, one of the finest organizations in the health system in the world, and many AIMS have really been set up. IITs, they are continuing, and IIMs too. But I have a question. Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru is given credit for introducing AIMS, IITs, and IIMs. But who helped? These institutions helped whom? Poor people? No. Middle class? No. Only the elite. And they all started serving the white men abroad. If 80% of IITians go abroad, and if best of the doctors of AIMS also go abroad, and if IIMs really serve the Western countries, is it fair? Is it fair? Don't you have a policy that at least they should serve India for 2 to 3 years and then go abroad if they have to? There have been many good central universities too, and national good governance indexes have been there. Let me talk about a very important contribution of Indian administration, which in my view is most valuable contribution since independence and immediately after independence, integration of Indian states. And you know who was responsible? Not just Sardar Patel, VP Menon. VP Menon has written 2 books, Transfer of Power in India and Integration of Indian States. What administrative system can do to bring about unity among all the various fragmented states of the country, provinces, is remarkable. Is remarkable. I think we should make a case study and put it in our syllabi as to how this particular action of the government functionaries has changed India. Many countries could not do it. Okay, Hyderabad, for example, it had to be taken through force for a while, but there was no brutal force used at all. The Nawab Nizam agreed, and he was very cordial. So there is nothing wrong in using Indian police action to integrate Hyderabad with India. So Sikkim was made a part of India in 1975. Goa was liberated, Goa. And Mr. John Kennedy helped India. Portugal had no capacity to attack India. And that is a great. See, army is also a very important part of administration. Remember one thing, that there are civilian bureaucracy and there is military bureaucracy. And we have not really studied in India the role of military bureaucracy in administration. They have done remarkable work in crisis management. National integration is one area, despite all the noise that we have about minorities versus Hindus fighting. I tell you, it's a very small matters. Essentially, Indians are one. Essentially, Muslims are one within Hindus, Christians, Parsis, Sikhs, anybody for that matter. India is one country. Forget about all the newspaper things. If you don't read newspaper, you won't find a lot of problem. Well, a little bit of skirmishes are there, riots are there, but Northeast has been integrated. Thanks to Mr. Manmohan Singh and Mr. Modi, the Northeast has been brought into the mainstream, significant. Let's look at some of the major contributions of Indian administration. Telecom. When India became independent, there were only 150,000 telephone lines. Can you imagine? 150,000 telephone lines in the country in 1947. Today, 120 crore people are there as subscribers to telephones, maybe mobile, maybe landline. Life expectancy in 1951 was 32.1 years, 2021, 70.8 years. Literacy rate 51, less than 20. 1951, less than 20. 1980, around 80% literacy. Per capita income, 1950-51, only 265 rupees. Today, in 2021, 128,829 rupees. Won't you like to give credit to administration? Poverty, in 1974, for example, 55% people were poor, and 2021, only 18% are. Okay, 24% are. See, basically, which parameters you take, that is important. I'm talking about the positive contributions of Indian administration. Why is it so? I'm talking about these outcomes. See, in a systemic approach to administrative system, we generally talk about inputs and throughputs. throughputs the whole administrative system, whether planning commission or maybe regulatory commissions or departments or PM office. These are all throughputs. But we don't study outcomes. And today, only 3 days ago, I was thinking, how do you measure the effectiveness of administrative system? Only by the various commissions and committees which have been appointed? Only by the various decisions made or policies formulated? Or their implementation too? And that is why Green Revolution, a remarkable contribution of Indian administration. Credit goes to whom? You won't believe it. Lal Bahadur Shastri and C. Subramaniam. Lal Bahadur Shastri went to the house of C. Subramaniam in Delhi to request him to become in charge of this revolution. The White Revolution. We are the largest milk producing country in the whole world. Varghese, again, you know, Lal Bahadur went to Anand and stayed overnight as Prime Minister of India to have long discussions with Varghese. Nuclear India. Who is responsible? Indira Gandhi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Space research. Who is responsible? Jawaharlal Nehru and all the later prime ministers. ISRO, fine organizations. And look, we have reached moon, and our ships are going to reach now Mars, and great research. And Abdul Kalam must be given all salutations for what he has done. So it is good that we know about what is happening in the field of roads. Our roads today, the whole scheme was started by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee and continued by Mr. Manmohan Singh most graciously, and by Mr. Modi, of course. Our roads are among the best in the world in many, many areas. There is a road which is joining Ahmedabad and Baroda. It's considered to be one of the best roads in the world, whether Pune, Bombay, or Hyderabad joining other cities, and the quality is marvelous. Highways particularly. Well, where municipal roads are there, state roads are there, condition has to be improved. Look at toilets, for example, under Swachhta Abhiyan. 2021, 80.71% of homes in urban areas have toilets, and rural is 63.6%. And the process continues. That's very important. But my humble submission is that we need more of inter-level mobility, inter-service mobility, and lateral entry that will really help us. Let's look at some of the negative aspects. The most significant point is that the image of bureaucracy in India has not been very high, as it is called. And many studies have been conducted by some IAS officers as to what people feel about the bureaucracy. Authoritarian, inefficient, that is insensitive, selfish, dishonest, untrustworthy. I mean, these are the adjectives used which are negative by the people, but it's not the whole truth. Indian bureaucracy has done remarkable work, and we should always look at the positive side of life and positive side of bureaucracy. Long time ago, I wrote an article on positive side of bureaucracy, and I think we have to really assess bureaucracy from the work that it has done, and maybe mistakes have been there. What is the most significant lapse on the part of administration in India since independence? Partition, we could not handle it well. Attlee had said in the House of Commons that India will be free in June 1948. What was the need of preponing it to 15th August 1947? They could have waited. They were not prepared administratively to handle all this crisis which resulted from the partition. 10 lakh people died during partition. And 1.5 crore people migrated from one place to another. I was born in Lahore, and the train in which I came, just the train ahead of us, of Hindus, that was mercilessly butchered. Many Muslims were butchered. Many Hindus were butchered. Brothers killed brothers. Government could not do anything in most of the cases. Why should have the government of Britain taken 15th August 1947 as a year as a date of independence because Japan had surrendered on 15th August 1945. And that is why they wanted this legacy of their victory to be imposed on India. We could not handle partition. The biggest failure is partition. The Chinese attack, that was another failure. Would you believe it that Mr. Krishna Menon during those days said that socialist countries don't attack each other, so China will not attack us? Is it our Indian defense minister really a sagacious person? And you know what happened? In the ordnance factories of India, coffee percolators were being manufactured. Coffee percolators by Mr. Krishna Menon. We had no weapons. Naxalism also came about, 1967 onwards. We could not check it. Now, of course, things have been little better, but you can say only less bad. But even then, it is obnoxious. Terrorism continued in Kashmir. Kashmir was a big, big problem. And the way on 1st January 1949, ceasefire was accepted by India, I think, and Sardar Patel wanted Nehru to wait for 2 more days only. 2 more days. He did not agree. National emergency, another failure. Population policy. There is no population policy in India after 1975, 1977. Mr. Sanjay Gandhi was responsible for using force in terms of family planning. Maybe he did not mean ill himself, but population policy is a big, big weakness. Then malnutrition of children equal to sub-Saharan Africa. Corruption among the most corrupt countries in the world, they say, but I don't believe it so. I think, you know, to take happiness index, take human development index, take integrity index. I mean, India is at the lower, almost at the bottom. I don't think it is true. The Western people are biased against India. All these reports are biased. How do you know how happy I am? How happy is a small villager working as a worksman in a small city of Warangal? How do you know? Simply because you have indicators of prosperity. Housing, food, car, refrigerators. I mean, are they indicators of happiness? They are indicators of economic development, agreed. But I tell you one thing, don't lose heart when you find these Western reports castigating India. An important weakness of Indian administration has been the policies of state and the central government. They have not coincided properly. There is no confluence between them. I'll give you one example. Take child policy of the government of India and take child policy of Andhra or Rajasthan. You find they don't gel together. They don't gel together. And pollution is a big, big issue. And crime against women. Amartya Sen said that primary education and primary health should have been given top place in India after independence. It was not done. Still not done. Very sad. Drinking water. 50 million people in 15 cities lack access to affordable drinking water. And in rural areas, the situation is worse. World Bank report, now I give you a very startling statistic. World Bank report says that in India, $2 billion are lost every year for absentees from primary school. Teachers who abstain themselves in primary schools in India, we are incurring a loss of $2 billion. What a shame. Teachers don't work. They don't come. Doctors don't go to rural areas. Why haven't we really taken care of? That is why our Indian administration, basically, most of the policies have been elitist. Although we talk about Garibi Hatao and talk about socialism and all that, but I tell you, we have not taken care of the less privileged persons. There is red tape and the red has gone darker. Channels of decision making are many. The government of India says it should be only 4, but in states it is 7 to 8. Quality of policing is rather unsatisfactory. There is overlapping of institutions. You find on social welfare, women's development, 3 organizations existing together. No congruence between state and central organizations. Public enterprises, most of them failed. And police population ratio, I'll tell you. Police population ratio recommended by the UN is 2 to 2 persons, that is 2022 policemen per 1 lakh population. India has 194 only. Only 2% of budget of the police is spent on police modernization. Only 2%. Sanctioned strength of policemen in India, central and state combined, is 26,32,000. You know how many seats are vacant? How many posts are vacant? 5,62,000. That is 21% of posts of police are vacant. And in 2013, Ministry of Home brought out a note on police system in India. They said, it is selectively efficient. Look at this phrase, selectively efficient. It can be good, it can be for Mr. Vice Chancellor, for secretaries, for people in money, with money power, people political power, for them it is very efficient. Unsympathetic to underprivileged section of society. It is injustice. Politicization, criminalization. 1861 Act, Indian Police Act, continues to rule the roost. Whole society has transformed, type of crimes have transformed, and yet we have the same old Police Act. And expenditure on police increased 4,000 times since independence, but mostly it is spent on salaries and maintenance. Friends, I'm going to close in a few minutes. Mixed outcomes. Panchayati Raj, hybrid outcome. There is enormous amount of inactivity in panchayats. They have not been given the finances they've needed. Local leadership has not been evolved. There is centralization of district and state over Panchayati Raj institutions, and local leadership and initiatives are missing. RTI, vested interests have used it enormously. Narega, lot of corruption, except until recently. Now direct benefits payments are being made, it's okay. But assets have not been created by Narega. And Niti Aayog, I'm in very limited role. Planning Commission, Mr. Manmohan Singh, while talking about the 9th 5-year plan, had mentioned 9th 5-year plan when it came into being. Mr. Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister of India, said that Planning Commission is not useful now. Municipal administration is in shambles. And Lokpal and Lokayuk, my God, would you believe it? That for the whole year, Lokpal and Lokpal of Government of India got about 21 cases. So empirical surveys say that Indian administrative system needs to develop. Now a few more ideas and I close. We need a disciplined democracy, disciplined politicians, disciplined legislatures, disciplined judges. Why should judges close their all cases? Good hearing is going on. Preparation have been made, 5 o'clock and they close. Why can't you continue? Parliament sit till 2 in the night. Administrators work for maybe up to 12 o'clock sometimes. Why should judges not work? Agreed a hand, but in different cases, when a particular hearing is going on, I think they can extend the time. And administrative leadership, we have not tried to develop. We don't know. There is not a single book in India on great administrative leaders or great administrators of India. There are a number of books on political leaders, but not on administrative leaders. State secretariats should be more proficient, have longer tenure for people, and no dual charges. Public enterprise chairmanship should not be given to IAS officers, others. There should be 4 channels of administration. Officer-oriented system is important, and competent recruitment method is important. More delegation to people at the lower level. There is no democracy in administrative system in India. Democracy around administrative system is there. That's a compulsion, constitutional. But tremendous amount of centralization, whether Prime Minister's office, CS, Chief Minister's office, different departments, university vice chancellors. Very small matters reach the top in India. DG. On police, of course, is decentralization, but excessive sometimes. No control is possible on them. What I'm suggesting is that we should think in terms of outcome budgets, performance budgets, and performance auditing, as the Administrative Reforms Commission had mentioned. States to learn from each other. There are no meetings of state functionaries with each other. Look at this. Kerala, there is regular ARC, that is round the year works. There is a digital secretariat. Telangana is the digital capital of India. Why don't other states learn from Telangana? Why don't we learn from Maharashtra? Longer tenure of civil servants. Best practices we should have. Monitoring is very important. Mr. Prakash Tandon, who was chairman of State Trading Corporation of India and Punjab National Bank, once said in a lecture that I had invited him to talk about, to address, he said India does not need any administrative reforms. India does not need any administrative reforms except one, monitoring. All the senior officers should monitor the work of their juniors. There is issue of motivation, don't mind. Issue of motivation. There is hardly any motivation among government servants. Maslow had a hierarchy of needs, 5 of them. Number 1, physical needs, they are met. Good salary, good comforts. Security needs, PF, gratuity, insurance, 311 Constitution. Then they wanted social needs, very well met. Ego needs, power needs met. So why should a person be motivated further by anything else? Therefore, we need to think in terms of new methods of motivation of government officers. Friends, I want to now raise a very important issue, and that is the behavior of Indian administrators towards people and within the administration needs great change and reform. There is lack of compassion, there is arrogance, lack of empathy, lack of trust, lack of helpfulness. I am giving now, we have talked about corruption also. There are 3 qualities of administration, A, B, and C. A is ability. Most of our reforms are concerning capacity building, structural changes, processual changes, legal changes, rules. It's A. Even training is A. B is behavior. And there is hardly any stress on behavior in the training also. C is character. So what we need in the end, we need better behavior, ethics, work culture, time management, and profundity in decision making. State PSCs should be better. State services should be more professional. Administrators should become more proactive. Digitalization should be expanded. People's awareness must be increased. Fundamental duties ought to be made part of all the schools. And judicial delays must go down. The slowest institution in governance in India has been judiciary, unfortunately. Very good, competent. Tenure of civil servants should be 2 years minimum. Accountability should be specified. Placement should be made on the basis of merit and experience. Officer-oriented system is needed. All the babus at the lower level should not be given the authority to make decisions. Excuse me. Holidays should be cut. Result-oriented administration is needed. Cadre management is not taken up very well. And work studies should be taken up. Police thanas must be given great importance. Criminal Justice Administration reports are there, 6 of them. Please look at them. Supreme Court decisions are there. Please look at them. Decisions should be fast. And there should be tremendous importance given to India becoming a strong state, not a soft state. Punishment is not given to the culprits. Lateral entry must be rather encouraged. No harm. And in Government of India now, large number of secretaries, joint secretaries, additional secretaries have come from non-IAS cadre. Good. Only a few marks difference is there between one who has come to Indian Audit and Account Service, one who has come to Indian Administrative Service. And what we should do is pre-public grievances should really be handled well, and training in behavior and character should be there. Recruitment system should be changed totally. Simply one exam and then interview. No. How do you know what is the competence or character of that person? Massive technology ought to be used. Compassion, reward for honesty. And whenever you have a new system, new plan, don't apply it in the whole country immediately. Pilot projects should be there. We should develop local leadership. Regional reform commissions, regional councils and reforms commissions are needed. Continuous basis, not just departments, but commissions. So friends, as I close, I would like to mention that there are many, many points and you have done so well already. But my humble emphasis has been on developing an administrative culture which is positive, which is efficient, which is based on respect for money, character, ethics, punctuality, time management, citizen centricity, organizational loyalty, and it is not difficult. We have not tried enough, and I think we can do it. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I want to thank you very much for inviting me, and I've been greatly benefited by the lectures given by all the people, particularly Professor Reddy, and you are a very knowledgeable person, Mr. Vice Chancellor. I've noted down all the points that really mentioned in your introductory remarks, and I thank you very much. God bless you all. Namaskar.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks a lot for your elaborate lecture and thought-provoking also. Really, once again, you have proved that you are an encyclopedia of Indian administration.
No, not, but, you know, not, but I think you should, this seminar that you had, please have this such a seminar again. Invite people from various universities also, and young lecturers, one-day seminar.
Thank
and
you.
Ask them to prepare the papers on different aspects.
Sure.
That will be good. We want young teachers really to grow up.
Yes.
We are giving great importance to senior people and an outdated volume like me. But we need young people.
Yes. So thank you, sir.
We need Pallavi to move up.
Yeah. All these efforts are to make them move forward. So
yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
I think you should have seminar on this subject. Yes. Maybe a couple of seminars inviting your teachers and research scholars and other people. Yeah.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very much for your suggestion. And in fact, we are also planning to hold a good seminar, maybe in the month of November or December. So we have a plan to reorganize our syllabus. And we are introducing semesterization in our syllabus for PG program. As part of that program, we are planning to have a seminar, 1 or 2 days, keeping in view the restructuring of our public administration syllabus. As you have said, it should be governance oriented. So the public policy and governance orientation must be kept in view while reorganizing our syllabus of post-graduation program. In that process only, we are planning to hold a seminar, keeping in view one special session will be there on Indian administration. So we can cover so many aspects in that. Sir, really, you have covered many aspects about the both positive and negative aspects of Indian administration, focused on the structure and the process of Indian administration. And finally, you have concluded that behavior needs to be changed. That is very important dimension which you have added to this discussion today. But at the same time, the recent plan or project of the government of India, that is Karmayogi Yojana, giving a special training to the Indian officers. Really, it is very interesting. We have also received communication from the Ministry of Education to organize special training programs, inviting officers into our academics and making them speak and interact, so that we are also planning on that. Our CSTD will definitely take it that program in future, sir. So thank you very much once again. And really, we wanted you be here today, but you have promised us to come over here.
You have saved a lot of money.
Yeah. Yes,
I think one of the finest contribution of COVID was that online meetings have become really accepted norm of interaction. And that is needed. It is needed.
Yes, you are right, sir. But in the forthcoming seminar, definitely we invite you and we expect you to be here one day with us. Thank you once again, sir.
So good of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your acceptance and participation. And now I request Pallavi,
There is a question for
if there are any questions and doubts by the participants online, can be taken up for some time. If anything is there, I request.
A question is better, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 10 to 15 minutes, we will take up them before closing the session.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. There is a question for Ramesh K. Arora, sir, from Suresh Kumar. They are asking, can the civil servants or the public servants can work without the influence of political executives? Can they discharge their duty, keeping in mind that the departments and designations created, they are for the needs of the people? So is it possible?
But why political influence should be denied? They are the rulers, people representatives. So give them respect and use them as partners, as your gurus. And I tell you one thing, not all politicians are bad and not all ministers are ignorant. They have really done a lot of reforms, introduced a lot of reforms in the field of administration. Take Panchayati Raj, RTI, Narega, all contributions of politicians, helped by bureaucrats, of course, assisted by bureaucrats. So we should not think in terms of politicians. You know what Max Weber said, that there will be certainly politicians who will be making policies and influencing or trying to monitor the work of administrators. They have to work as partners, stakeholders together. Friendly atmosphere should be there. And don't think that politicians, their influence is rather undesirable.
Thank you, sir. There is a question for Professor Srinivas Reddy, sir, from Jose Chatukulam from Kerala. And sir is asking, like, what about the Gandhiji's wise talisman in public administration?
This is Professor Jose. I'm not Nayi Talim or wise talisman.
Wise talisman.
No, I am not aware of this. Nayi Talim, he was talking about as basic education and all. You can ask him. Raise hand and directly ask.
Will you please raise your...
Professor Jose can...
Talisman, Gandhi's talisman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he said that if ever you find it difficult to decide in any matter, think of the person who is at the lowest rung of the ladder of the peoples among beneficiaries. Think of him. That is why Antyodaya became an important program. So think of the person who is at the lowest level as far as benefits are concerned. And is it going to help him? That is the basic point in talisman.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. There is a question from Mr. Tarun who is asking, like, why the public policies are not properly implemented at the grassroots levels.
See, basically, we lack leadership at the grassroots level, resources at the level. And basically what is happening is that I wanted to once again say that Prakash Tandon, who was chairman of STC and also Punjab National Bank, said that India needs only one reform, monitoring of the work of their functionaries at the lower level, middle level. That is not being done. There is no monitoring. There should be monitoring at PM's level, ministers level, CM's level, CS level, collectors level, Zilla Pramukh level, Panchayat Samiti level. And this whole chain of monitoring should be there. Only then you will find in India, people are intelligent in government. And if they know that they're being controlled, monitored, screened, and kept an eye on them, they will work better. No other thing works better. So we need a new system where we are consciously and in a planned manner trying to monitor the work, the behavior, and the honesty of the people working under us. Things will change dramatically.
Thank you, sir. And there's one observation from Prashant Kumar, who says that more time, energy, and money is wasted to topple the state governments rather than administrative reforms. Is it true? Or can you please throw your opinion on this?
Agreed. You see, basically, if you just point out wrongs, you will find wrongs. You'll find weaknesses everywhere. But I tell you that look to the intentions of bureaucrats when they enter the service. They don't enter only for corruption. They enter for service. They enter for contribution. They enter for productivity. They enter for performance. And if you really don't control them, children can't be controlled by parents if you leave them to their law, jo marzi karo, whatever you want to do it. They will not, children will take advantage of parents. Bureaucrats will take advantage of politicians if we really allow them all the freedom. People at the lower level will take advantage of people at the middle level, higher level. So I think India should not be a soft state. India should be a rationally strong state. And that which is called, what we call, tough love. You love people, but remain tough, firm and polite.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your response. Yeah, so please, you can continue, sir, Professor.
Yes. No, one compelling suggestion I was trying to make, but for paucity of time, I couldn't do it. There was discussion about IIMs, IITs, and all that. They ended up serving the foreign capital or maybe the foreign countries. That has been the charge. But, we have not thought of creating similar institutes to give good education in public administration by starting things like Indian Institutes of Public Administration. The one Indian Institute of Public Administration in Delhi is only training of civil servants. So those who are already selected. Public administration education is almost on deathbed. And I have a compelling suggestion to make that government should take up this responsibility, create Indian Institutes of Public Administration to offer MA Public Administration, research in public administration. Universities are not doing it. There was a time when universities were also partly doing this, but they were not able to do it that well. So therefore, my suggestion is that on the lines of IIM, IITs, they have served the private sector. Now, if you give public administration education, they have to only serve public sector. So if the government can think of that, will be salutary. I want Professor Ramesh Saab's reaction on to this particular suggestion.
The Second Administrative Reforms Commission, in its report on refurbishing personnel administration, has given a suggestion that there should be, before a person enters the IAS, and any person for that matter, can enroll himself in a degree program for public administration.
That's wonderful.
And that person can go to civil services or can go to teaching. But it has not been accepted by the government. I think a very good decision was of the ARC to give this recommendation. But I agree with you, Dr. Reddy, that we should have a national level administrative institution which gives top-class training in the field of administration, public administration. But the only trouble is the IAS people, IPS people, and central service people, they think that administration is not something which can be taught through academic programs. They feel that administration is to be learned on on the job through experience. That is why most of the people who are selected in the IAS, hardly very few have had public administration as their optional subject, or they have studied public administration in their master's or BA. They have made the subject of public administration irrelevant to the discipline of public administration, to the practice of public administration. And it's a common sense. It's a common sense. So I agree with you. We should do something quite concrete about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Wind up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. Really, as the officers feel that public administration is not mere common sense, it is beyond that. They need to understand the various socio-economic and political dimensions of public administration, and also the public centeredness of the public administration. In that area, really they need a different kind of training to them, but they may not accept it, but it is a different question. I do also agree with this opinion, sir. And now, there are no special closing remarks of the President to this session. I think everything is covered. Now I request, before vote of thanks by Pallavi, felicitation to our guest here.
Missing
Yes. But we felicitate the another guest who came here. Sir, right.
Thank you very much.
I'm missing all this.
Yes, sir. Sir, we would like to felicitate you when you come here, sir, next month. It would be our honor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm just joking.
We are very much waiting for your presence here.
Yeah.
We seriously await your arrival here, sir. There are a lot of your shishyas here, sir. Directly and indirectly.
Yes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Now I request our Pallavi Kapte, Department of Public Education, to propose formal vote of thanks to this session.
Good afternoon, one and all. It's my honor this afternoon to propose formal vote of thanks at the end of National Symposium on Continuity and Change in Indian Administration during the last 75 years. At the outset, I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K. Sitharama Rao, sir, who is a constant source of inspiration and support. Thank you, sir, for your guidance always. In fact, when the initial thought on organizing this symposium was going on, the first names that came to Vice Chancellor sir's mind is Professor Ramesh K. Arora sir and Srinivas Reddy sir. And I'm very happy that this day is possible with all the initiatives taken by our Vice Chancellor sir. I extend my thanks and gratitude to our chief guest, Professor Ramesh K. Arora sir, who in spite of busy schedule, accepted our invitation just over a phone call. Thank you, sir. You're great inspiration to all of us. And we are fortunate today that we heard your thoughts. Generally, we read your books, and today we have heard from your own words, sir. Thank you so much for your presence and very valuable insights. Indeed, it's a great thought-provoking talk, I must say. Thank you so much, sir. I thank Professor Srinivas Reddy, sir, a great scholar who is always a great support to the Department of Public Administration, Dr. BRAOU. And sir has also instantly accepted our invitation. And sir is present here. Sir, thank you so much for your valuable inputs. And I'm sure all the students and the participants, they have benefited a lot with your talks. I thank our Director of Academic, Professor Sudharani Madam, for her constant encouragement. Professor Ghanta Chakrapani, sir, Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, who always welcome all the innovative thoughts and the programs which we propose. I thank Dr. A.V.N. Reddy, sir, Associate Professor, Department of Public Administration, currently Registrar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Open University, and Professor C. Venkatesh, sir, Adjunct Professor and former Registrar, Dr. BRAOU, who are always with the department, though because they are very busy in the administrative positions. In spite of that, their constant support to the department. I thank all the directors, deans, HODs, faculty members, not only from our university, but from the different universities and colleges, students, scholars who participated in this national symposium. I thank Computer Center and Engineering branch, BRAOU branch for making all the necessary arrangements. Thank you one and all for making this symposium a great success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.